Three primary ones. One, that they want to see Kenya continue on the path of improving the ease of doing business. So business processes must be faster. The ability to, for instance, search for land has to be faster. The ability to register companies, the ability to access credit. These things have to be done in a much faster way. Secondly, they were particularly concerned about our commercial court system. Cases take too long to settle. I mean, if you are in court for a year or 2 years, it means that you could be bankrupted while the court processes are still going on. They were also particularly concerned that we don't have a system of arbitration that works fast or is entrenched in law, and they are willing to help us set up an arbitration center in Nairobi, which could cater for both Kenya as well as the region. And this is something the president is very keen on. In fact, he will be inviting a number of them to Nairobi to speak to our legal teams about how this might be set up and set up quickly, because it's fundamental to how we do business.
Manoah,
thirdly, they wanted support in terms of being able for small and medium-scale enterprises to be scaled in a faster way. So, for instance, Quantum Energy it owns Menengai geothermal, which it is developing. It's a 35 megawatt facility. They wanted support, for instance, in terms of how they speak to their lenders so they can scale that up 5 times.
Okay.
And they said, look, we have confidence in the country. We have confidence in the way it's moving forward. We can multiply 5 times the current production at Menengai from 35 megawatts, but we need support to do those things.
Okay.
And lastly, they wanted Kenya to be able to engage in discussion about issuing bonds on the foreign markets, like the London Stock Exchange, in local currency, so that currency fluctuations do not affect payments or how investors engage with the country. And these are things that the president said he's committed to having discussions to see how Kenya moves them forward.
Manoah, I am surprised that the issue of corruption did not come up. No investor was concerned about, for example, Kenya's ranking on the latest Transparency International list. Is that something that did not come up at all in any of those discussions?
Well, Higa, you might be surprised, but for sure it didn't come up. But what I can tell you is that 2 things about that. One, that people want to see the country continuing to work long-term on the matters of governance, because investors, don't look at things from yesterday and today. Investors look at long-term, and they're looking at the president and asking him what is the commitment to dealing with these matters, bringing them to an end. And the president has consistently said we are improving governance institutions. The president has just completed, as you know, a reform of the leadership of his legal team, a new attorney general, a new solicitor general, a new director of public prosecutions, this joining an inspector general of police that came into office not too long ago. So in terms of moving forward, the president has moved forward quite a huge leap in terms of reforming his justice office.
Okay.
And so I think people have the confidence that he's moving in the right direction, and that in terms of dealing with governance issues, Kenya is moving in the right direction.
Okay, well, foreign investors might have the confidence, but of course perceptions around corruption in the country still remain high. So I guess that's something we'll talk about a bit more when you do get back from London. Manoah, the president also made a strong promise to Kenyans living in the diaspora that come 2022, they will be able to participate in that election. We've had this before. What is different, or what is going to be different this time around in how that is set up?
I think the Electoral Commission has to engage with the Interior Ministry as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is entirely a logistical issue, not, I don't think any other thing is involved. Mapping out which areas would be able to vote. I mean, there are Kenyans in as many countries as I can think of. more than 100 at the least, and setting up all polling stations and things in all these places is a matter that has to be looked at with some logistical planning in mind. I mean, if you go to the US, for instance, do you set up polling stations in every state? Do you set up polling stations in every city? Those are questions that have to be looked at.
So at the moment, there are no timelines.
They have 4 years to plan this. I think it's something they can look at in that way.
So the president has not in any way shared with you or his thoughts in terms of a roadmap that by 2021 we should be able to see this. We don't have that yet, do we?
This is not up to the president. This is up to the Electoral Commission to present a roadmap, and then the leadership would be concerned about how to fund that roadmap. Sure. Until that roadmap emerges, the president wouldn't have a way to tell you we go this direction or that direction.
Okay. The reason I asked that is because I believe that because he made that promise to them that he would, or you would at least be able to tell us in terms of implementable parts of that promise what the future would look like. But it sounds like you've tossed the ball now to the IEBC. An IEBC that we're not quite sure what it will look like in the next 4 years, but that's a topic for another day. Job creation is something the president also spoke about. He appealed to UK investors, I think, to work together with Kenya to create jobs for young people. This was one of the Jubilee Party's big promises in 2013, but it appears to have been one of the harder ones to implement. What has been the challenge, Manoah, in your view, of job creation in the country, and what do you hope will then come out of this particular series of meetings in the UK that could provide hope and relief to Kenyan youth?
Job creation is the reason the president is here in London. It's a question of getting as many investors who are like-minded to set up in our country so that we continue to expand our industry, so that we continue to do the things that the president wants to do in terms of delivering a value and better life for the Kenyan people. So if you invest in the things that we need to invest in, affordable housing, for instance, would create jobs. If we invest in expanding manufacturing, we would create those jobs. And if we expand our markets, it means we can do more in terms of what we produce, which also means jobs. So there are three things there. One is that we must continue to work on availing credit so that small businesses can get money to do the things that they would like to do, and so that big businesses can expand, which is why the president spoke to the question of interest rates at his Chatham House speech. He was asked about whether he was thinking anything about rate cap, and he talked to this matter, saying it is one that we are concerned about and we were going to move forward with. He also spoke to businesses about how raising funds here for various programs. The London Stock Exchange particularly talked to him about what they might do to securitize affordable housing, which means that you build affordable housing on the basis of funds being raised on stock exchanges, and might be London, it might be Nairobi, it might be New York, whatever that might be. It's a question of getting the money to put in the right places. And then the president spoke about the youth particularly, who are a major concern of his. And from London, the stock exchange was concerned about investing in innovation, in which Kenya is a leader both in Africa. Quite leads the world in a number of areas.
I need to stop you there because I need to get one last question in before you go. Yesterday, I asked you the question of whether the president had received the resignation of the 3 IEBC commissioners. You said that he had heard the news but not received the formal documents that indicate the resignation. Any update from his office in regards to what is happening at the IEBC before I let you go?
I will be able to come back to you on that, Wahiga. The president is focusing on the work here. The problems at the IEBC are not an emergency of any kind.
They're not an emergency, but the remaining
getting investment that will lift the lives of the Kenyan people.
You say they're not an emergency, but the two commissioners together with the chair even say for now that their security has been withdrawn. That doesn't sound like an emergency to you, Manoah?
I don't see how it is an emergency.
Okay. Thank you so much then. So that's how you want us to leave that particular discussion?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you so much. Manoah Esipisu, State House spokesperson, just giving us an update about the President's program in the United Kingdom and also about issues affecting our nation at this moment.